Welcome back to Severe MMA, and today I'm joined by Cork's Jack Maguire, who will take on Ciaran Mulholland at Cage Warriors 114 this Thursday for the Cage Warriors Trilogy Series, the first event of the series. So how are you doing today, Jack?
Yeah, flying it, man. Flying it. Thanks for having me, Andy. Appreciate it.
Of course, anytime. And just before we dive into any of the fights coming up or your previous fights or anything like that, I kind of like to get to understand fighters' backgrounds a bit more. So, first question is, how did you end up fighting in a cage?
Um, it's funny. I kind of had no choice, really. It was you see, my older brother Aaron was training in it, and I was too busy playing soccer as a young fella. And then my younger brother started training in MMA, and both of them were kind of off gallivanting, training MMA and jiu-jitsu, but I was still playing soccer, and just me being the usual older brother, I used to always just come home and, go bully the younger brother. It was just the classic older brother mentality. But and it only worked for a few years, but one day I came home and naturally I went for my younger brother Callan. I just went at him thinking I was big bollocks, like, and sure, he just double legged me and straight into mountain, slapped me in the face, and I was completely defenseless, and I couldn't do anything to him. So he
So really getting embarrassed by your little brother is what started your
yeah, it
path.
was it was a dark day in my life, just losing to your younger brother. You, as an older brother, you can't lose to your younger siblings, and I lost that day, like, in front of them all. So I'm pretty sure I quit soccer that evening, and I started MMA the next day with Aaron. That was how serious it was, how embarrassed I was. So I started training MMA the next day, and it's not that I just started doing it because of that. That was kind of what got me started. But once I started training, I had almost forgot that happened, because I loved it from the moment I got in there. I was just dying to get back, so it was brilliant.
And so I know that you spent a lot of time at BJJ Cork with Liam Beechin, or were you
Yeah.
training Brazilian Jiu Jitsu prior to getting your ass kicked by your little brother, basically?
No, no, I had nothing, absolutely nothing whatsoever. The only thing I'd get is when Aaron would come home and he'd want to practice something, and he'd ask myself and my brother for the trampoline just to go out and practice. But I hadn't a clue what was going on. But then after that, I just started training MMA with Aaron. He was just after opening up the MMA gym with truly in Beechner. And so then once I started with him, I was able to avail of the classes with Liam. So I just started doing everything the moment I started. So that's how I got going, really.
Yeah, and you mentioned there that Aaron opened up his own gym. Obviously, you're training down in MMA Cork
Mm.
alongside John Mitchell, who I spoke to just the other day. So, what's that relationship like for you, having your older brother as a head coach?
It's you know what? It's actually brilliant. It's fantastic, because like, he knows me, probably better than anybody, like, because we're living with each other as well, like, so he knows me, like, perfectly. But it's when I go into the gym, I'm like everyone else. He's not my brother, and the same with other family members in the gym, and it's just, in the gym he's the coach and we're the student, in a sense. So, but it's just nice, because Aaron's a bit of a genius in terms of the coaching, like, and he his individual attention to all of us, like me, John, the Jack Mann, and the Paul Buckleys, all the other up and comers in the gym. He's just, from right down from the top all the way to the first person in the door. He's his individual attention. So it's hard to kind of treat him as the brother, because he's treating me like a student. So I treat him as a coach. He's my annoying older brother when I go out to the gym. But in the gym, it's strictly coach and student.
So you've got a good separation, I guess. Then it sounds like.
Yeah, oh, for sure, for sure. But like, myself and Aaron, for the last maybe 6 years, have surrounded ourselves with MMA, and we're always in the gym, be it coaching or even just working in the gym, or even just, planning things for MMA Cork. And it's uh, it's perfect when we're there. But when we come out, it's nice to just tune out and just switch off MMA, because you don't want to completely make it, 24/7 talk about MMA, But myself and Aaron have shared interests outside of MMA, so it's nice to go home and just, it's brothers, and it's not like, oh, you're constantly with your coach and talking about this and game planning. But no, we relax, and it's nice. All as you said there, it's nice to be able to switch it off and on when we want.
Yeah, and have that normal relationship then outside of the gym.
Yeah,
And then
yeah, for
like,
sure.
so from my experience, like a lot of people talk on the Irish scene about Cork MMA and like the buzz that's going around Cork MMA. I recall at Cage Wars 110, I was with Sean Sheen and a few of the other media guys, and we passed by yourself and Aaron, and I didn't really, I've kind of only relatively new to covering the sport, so now that I'm kind of focusing much more on Irish MMA and the domestic scene and amateur MMA and things like that, I'm really starting to see that there really is a huge buzz around Cork MMA. But like, how would you describe? Like, it seems that Cork MMA down in Cork is a little bit segregated from the rest of the country, where maybe the attention isn't given to it as much as maybe the Dublin fighters or things like that. But like, how would you summarize the state of MMA in Cork these days?
Like, yeah, in fairness, Dublin, as you said, there is like MMA, it's almost originated in there because people are at it and with the high names and stuff. Yeah, like for sure, Dublin's at a different stage at the moment with the amount of numbers that come in, but the standard down in Cork is absolutely phenomenal. As in like all the fighters we have in our gym, all the competitors, even all the people who are just training for the fun of it. Like we have no need to be traveling abroad or jumping between gyms. Like we can stay in Cork and get good camps for good fighters. So it's the standards at a seriously high level, and it's only going up because like the competitors that are here at the moment, they're not easing off. They're still going, but there's more competitors being added to the to events and stuff. So the standard in Cork is huge, and yeah, MMA Cork has, in fair, like I'd like to say, MMA Cork has a good reputation with fights. Like when it comes, people know if you're fighting someone from MMA Cork, it's not going to be an easy fight. Like we train smart, we train well. We have a good team, and when it comes fight day, like we're ready to go. Like we don't just throw people into fights just for an experience. Like we're a very serious competitive gym, alongside being a gym to cater for people who aren't competitors. But when it comes to the competitive side of things, we take it very seriously, and like nobody's in there that doesn't deserve to be in there. So and that's even just in MMA Cork, and there's other standard high standard fighters around Cork. So standards going up, and it's going to keep going up. And I know for a fact, you have people flying from international all around the world to Dublin, but in a few years' time, you're going to have people making trips to Cork just to train in Cork. And that's the way it's going to go, and there's no way that's not going to happen.
Do you think it's a little bit more difficult to kind of make your claim or make your name known when you're coming from Cork in MMA in Ireland?
No, not really. You see, Ireland's good like that because Ireland recognizes who's doing well. Like when you come to the events, like we won titles all across the amateur. Like not just me, like not just John, like Aaron and like other fighters from our gym were winning titles, and there are other title holders from other gyms in Cork. And in MMA in Ireland, it's almost a small community, but it's really popular, but it's a small community that everyone recognizes when someone's doing well in Ireland. So like just because you're from Dublin, you get the limelight and all that. But no, if you're winning and you're from Cork, you're still winning that event. You're still winning the show. You're still winning the belt. Your name's known. It's not how you fight, how you go. Like so.
Yeah, and I want to talk to you about your pro day.
I think in Ireland it's a different story because it's as I said, a small community.
Yeah, no, sorry, it cut out there, so I cut across you. Apologies about that. But I want to talk to you about your pro debut. So obviously you had an extensive amateur career, but then to make your professional debut on a platform like Cage Warriors in Neptune Stadium in front of a hometown crowd, like I remember kind of standing on the balcony watching yourself fight and John Mitchell fight, and just the crowd was absolutely boisterous and blew the roof off the place. Like what was that experience like for you? I know you didn't get the win, but what was the experience like overall?
Oh, it was amazing. It was absolutely fantastic. Neptune, there's something about Neptune, I don't know, are we biased because it's from Cork, but I don't think I've ever heard anybody say, fighting in Neptune was weird. It was always, fighting in Neptune was crazy, like it was amazing. But just the crowd always comes to show in Cork, and the fans and friends and family. But it's just, and even just on a big show like Cage Warriors, they put on a good show, and it was great to be part of it, and yeah, the result didn't go my way that night, but I mean, it was still great to be part of it. I got the foot in the door, and I'm still here to keep going, but be nice to get back in there again. But that first debut, big show like that, I couldn't ask for anything more.
And what were the emotions like afterwards? And like when you reflect back on that fight, like how do you How do you reflect back on that Manny Akban fight, and what were the emotions like after the loss?
Not really big emotions, but I always try and just be realistic with myself. That night was like, it was possibly the worst fight I've ever had in my career, and it just in front of all my friends and family on my pro debut. That could have easily have happened in the middle of my amateur career, but no, it just happened there. I'm realistic. It happened there. I and maybe I could have controlled a lot of things, but I just didn't show up that day, and I just get on with it. Just like, yeah, okay, take the loss, carry on with it. I have to do another fight anyway, so go back training, because I'm always training. I'm always ready for fights, and it happens. Like, I'm planning to fight all the time and very, very often. So like, I can't be guaranteed the results or I suppose the good day to show up every time. But just get on with it, really. But yeah, it was a tough old loss for sure. We'll go again, I suppose.
Yeah, and like, do you think that your amateur career, like obviously in Ireland or in anywhere, when it comes to amateur MMA, no one or some people go undefeated, but like a lot of the great fighters, they'll have multiple losses on their MMA record from amateur, and then the slate's wiped clean again. But the fact that you have had those losses in your amateur career, do you think that prepared you mentally for a pro debut loss?
Yeah, it's hard to say, but I'd imagine it would subconsciously prepare you. Like, I've lost I've lost in fights in amateur, and it's the same thing. Maybe the first loss was like, this is annoying and stuff, but eventually it's just, oh yeah, just okay, we'll troop around, we keep going. So I'd say I've just been subconsciously just made used to it by that career at amateur. Like, that amateur career stands to you better than anything, as in, some people rush into pro, like, but the way amateur scene went in Ireland, you rack up 20 odd fights easily. And I mean, what I came up against in that pro debut was like, not like, it was the same as what I gained in my and came up against in my amateur fights. So it was no surprise. I wasn't unprepared for that style or that thing. It's just a loss, and that's the way it is. Like, so we keep going with it.
Yeah, and I want to look ahead to your next fight. And the first question I have, just before we talk about the fight itself, is I noticed you're dropping down to bantamweight. So is this? I know previously competed and won titles at bantamweight before, but it's been a while, hasn't it, since you've last competed at the
It's
weight?
been it's been a while, yeah. You see, it's been a while. Like, featherweight's too big for me. Like, for the last fight, I did no weight cut, and I had no nutritionist. It was just, I ate clean for a small while, and I woke up at 65 kg.
So
Which is
it
like,
was
I
really
didn't do
more
any
of
cut.
just like your nutrition that brought you down, and you didn't do a water cut at all. Then
No, I did no cut at all. I do no cut for featherweight, so I'm a small featherweight. I shouldn't really fight in featherweight, but it was just, I fought a bantamweight at the start, but as I got older, I obviously had a career outside of training and stuff. So it was just, for me, it was very hard to work full time and be doing a full time training camp with a nutritionist, and then also having to do strength and conditioning. It was just almost easier for me to just know that I have training in the evening and just be at featherweight. So it was, but when I went to pro, it was kind of, I realized that after my last fight as well. I need to. It's just the extracurricular things that, like bantamweight, like, if I do it properly, I can make it very easily. So bantamweight is definitely the weight I should be at. So I'm doing it proper time, and I'm looking forward to fighting at bantamweight, because it's definitely the weight for me. So
so is it
it's
a
definitely.
case that like now you're essentially just at the weight you would have been at for featherweight around this time, and then come fight week in the next couple of days, then you'll just do a water cut, and that'll be the last 10 pounds, or like how much
Yeah,
you weigh? How much do you weigh
like
right now?
I'm well under featherweight. I'd say, like, I'm effectively on weight in the next few days anyway, and that's almost without starting to waterload. So it's bantamweight done right as an easy cut for me, and if I fuel myself right, and as I said, I've kind of done this camp right the way I should have done the last few amateur fights and my last pro fight. Just actually not working the full time and just training full time and having a nutritionist and getting the weight down gradually, because I can do it very easily. It's just, but now this has been very good, and my bantamweight's very easy for me. So it's fine. It's good to finally kind of do it again.
Of course. And then as we look ahead to your matchup, obviously fighting Ciaran Mulholland from Belfast. So an interesting little wrinkle that I find in this matchup is the fact that the both of you won titles on Akuma 10, back to back. So you beat Dara Tolman to win the featherweight title, or sorry, rather he won the flyweight title, and then in the next fight you won
Yeah,
the bantamweight title. Do you remember
yeah,
much about
exactly.
that
Yeah.
night?
Oh yeah, I remember it. Yeah, I was fighting Dara Tolman, and he was Dara Tolman's a serious competitor as well, and but yeah, I remember that night. I remember all the nights. You know, I really enjoy being part of them, so I don't forget anything. But I know Ciaran. Ciaran's a lovely guy, and he's a really good competitor, and he always shows up. Like you will have no problem like knowing Ciaran was going to be there to the end if he needs to be. You know, he'll be there always. And whenever I was representing the Irish team, Ciaran was there representing Northern Ireland. You know, and we'd always be in the hotel chatting away like lovely guy, serious competitor, and I'm really looking at the fight because I know he is, and I am as well, and it's going to be a good fight, and so I'm looking forward to it.
Do you prefer fighting someone like that where you know them, you have respect for them, you get on well, versus someone who maybe you have a bit of disdain for? Or...
Yeah, I don't know. I just you see, I do my own thing anyway. You know, I'd be very outgoing, and I'd chat to the opponent even before like I'd chat away to them, say hello. Sure, like there's no point hating them. There's no point being angry. Like you know, it's just some people like to kind of build it up in their head and be angry, but for me, it's just like I just like fighting, and like there's no. I'll beat around. I won't beat around the bush. I'll just, how's it going? Let's fight. But we're fighting. Gentleman's agreement. We're just going to get in there and do it, and we're going to be friendly after. So there's no point hating each other beforehand. So
Go
it's
for a pint after.
yeah, exactly, yeah, exactly. And I'm sure he'd be the same. But sure, if someone wants to be quiet and mad dog, yeah, like you know, that's fine with me as well. Like I'll do my own thing regardless. I'll probably still say hello to you. Kill him with kindness, as one of my buddies says. So that's what I
Yeah.
tend to do, really.
And
Yeah.
so Ciaran won a title at flyweight, and how he's obviously moved up to bantamweight since then, and you're coming down from featherweight to bantam. Do you think there'll be a big size difference between the two of you?
No, not really, not really. Like I think if people are able to make bantamweight like the same weight within reason, it's you know it's not going to make a huge difference on the night because if someone's doing a big huge cut to bantamweight, they're going to be tired the day of the fight. You know, so I don't think it's going to be a big discrepancy because like he was a big flyweight, like a big flyweight. You know, so bantamweight it's going to suit him down to the ground, and I don't think it's going to be a big difference really. But I just hope I come in healthy and come in strong and try and keep going really.
And how do you think that the two of you match up stylistically?
Terribly for me, you know, terribly for me. I'd say it's just going to be it's well rounded. It's well rounded matchup because I know I started MMA and by the looks of things, Ciaran is all MMA as well, you know. So like he'll go wherever he needs to. So I'd say it's just going to be an interesting one. It's going to be, you know, we'll be trying to feel each other out in all aspects of it: striking, grappling, wrestling. So we'll see
Do
how
you
it goes.
do you
It's
expect it
interesting.
to go to a decision?
Well, I hope not. Anyway, I hope it's done as quick as possible. But I hope it's done as quick as possible. But as I said, it's hard to tell. I'm going to try and go in there to kind of make a statement after my last fight. You know, so I really want to prove a point that you know the last one wasn't Jack. This next fight is Jack. But like that's easier said than done because Kieran's coming in to fight hard as well. You know, so we'll play it by ear. Hopefully we get in and get it done quick. If not, I'll be there to the end, and I know for a fact he will too.
And lastly, I would be remiss of me if I didn't ask a question. Can you give us a prediction? How do you what's your prediction for the result?
A prediction. Jesus, I'd
You
say
have to
I'd
give
have
you have to
to.
give the method here now as well, because I know you're going to choose yourself.
Um, no, I'm going to say Jack a winner by surprise.
Grand. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah,
So, Jack, it's been an absolute
yeah.
pleasure to speak to you. I look forward to watching you fight. You're an absolute gentleman, and yeah, it's obviously always difficult to watch two Irish guys compete when you're a
I
fan
know.
of the sport and when you're looking on. But it's great to see you all out there, and good to see Irish MMA getting back going. And we've got some great cards
Yeah,
coming up with the Cage Warriors 114, 115, and 116 this weekend, or next weekend rather.
sure.
So yeah, as I said, best of luck, safe travels over to Manchester, and I hope the cut goes smoothly as you're anticipating. And I look forward to
Appreciate
speaking
that.
to you after.
Appreciate that. And just a quick shout out for Big Mitch there fighting as well. So everyone tune in for that as well. And they're going to be a barn burner for sure.
Yeah, actually, one more
So
question then. So, give us a prediction for that fight. Seeing as you won't give us a good prediction for your one, give us a prediction for.
I can't give predictions for myself, but John's coming to smash. And honest to God, like John is out of everyone I know in the MMA circuit, be it in MMA Cork or anywhere I've ever met, John Mitchell is the best competitor that I know. As in, he will show up, he will put on a show, and he's in it to win it. You know, he has that mentality of a competitor. You know, sometimes I come in and I enjoy it too much, but John has razor sharp focus. So John's always looking to prove a point. So be tuned in for that one. The win for John for sure.
Good stuff. And if you have any sponsors or anything you want to give a shout out to, or give us your social media handles there. I know that you Cork lads for some reason just don't like Twitter, so I'm trying to convince John Mitchell to get on Twitter. So you as well, Jack.
Twitter doesn't exist. I have a tough time being told to be on Facebook, so don't even get me started on Twitter.
Yeah, you're living in the past, man.
Living in the past. So I'd say if you just hit up Jack Maguire MMA on Facebook or Instagram, and you'll see all the crack there. So you know the usual.
Jack, it's an absolute pleasure. You're a gentleman.
Thanks for that, Andy. Have a good one. Bye.